Sincere gratitude to IoT Academy, and it's truly a privilege to be here. With that, I'm delighted to begin my talk. I request ma'am to share. Right. Thank you. So I'm here to give a talk on innovative teaching and learning in higher educational institutions. Now, as we all work for higher educational institutions, our motto basically is, ma'am, go to the next slide, is to live up to the expectations of NAC and National Education Policy 2020. So whatever content that I have prepared, everything focuses on NAC and NEP 2020. And also it also helps for faculty development, in which way we can upskill ourselves. All right. So moving on to the next slide. First one is outcome-based education. Now, there are several teaching modules, out of which right now we focus on outcome-based education, which is also known as OBE. Now, this outcome-based education, it is unlike the traditional models of teaching, wherein it is purely student-centric or learner-centric, unlike the traditional model, which was teacher-centric. It basically focuses on, achieving measurable, specific and measurable learning outcomes. What are those learning outcomes? It could be knowledge, it could be skill, it could be attitude. All the graduate attributes encompass into this. So firstly, if you see the slide over here, we are having course outcomes, which is then followed by, moving in the upward direction, we have program outcomes, then we have program education objectives, and then it should reflect our vision and mission. So firstly, when it comes to course is nothing but the subjects that we have in a semester. If we are having if we follow a semester system, the number of subjects that we have, that is called course. Program is nothing but the degree, the graduation degree. For instance, if you are having for example, if you have BSc Biotechnology, so BSc Biotechnology is known as a program. And the subjects that we read under this BSc Biotechnology, like genetics or cell biology or English, second language, all these are known as courses. So we know what are courses and what is a program. Now, firstly, coming to course outcome. Course outcome means what is the outcome that we learned after the course is over. Means at the end of the semester. Once when we finish the semester, what is the outcome? What is the end output after reading that particular course? Did we achieve? So basically, when we are designing our syllabus, in the syllabus only, before the content, we are writing our course outcomes. In this syllabus manual, if you see, initially we will write program educational objectives, then we have program outcomes, and then we also have course outcome. Course outcome is specifically on the first, initially we are having the course code, then we have the course outcome. Means what is the end result, outcome after learning this particular course. So that is our course outcome. Then this one is next, moving in upward direction, we have program outcomes. Now, program outcome is nothing but what do we learn at the end of the 3 years. If it is a 3 years of graduation, at the end of 3 years, if it is a 4 years of graduation, at the end of the 4th year. What is the essence of taking up that particular program? After learning all the subjects in BSc Biotechnology, at the 3rd year, in which way I am knowledgeable, whether I have achieved all the objectives that were mentioned before. So during this program outcome, so course outcome, we learn at the end of each semester. At the end of once, when all the units in the syllabus is completed, we have to see whether we have learned whether we have attained all the objectives. That is course outcome. Program outcome is at the end of the semester, whether we have attained all the objectives. Now, during this tenure of program outcome, based on if it is a graduation for 3 years, if it is a post-graduation, then 2 years, or if it is a graduation degree with honors, then at the end of the 4th year, what are the outcomes, whether all our objectives are satisfied, whether we have accomplished all the objectives. Now, during this period only, we have another concept called graduate attributes. Now, what is this graduate attributes? Graduate attributes are those external skills that we develop during this tenure of stay in the college. Now, for instance, when we are for 3 years, a graduation of 3 years when we are in the college, apart from only learning our academic program, that is only learning BCom or BSc or BA, we also take part in certain activities, debate competition, or else we take part in cultural fest, or else we take part in any of the community service programs. So when we take part in all such events, we develop team building skills, or we develop leadership skills, or we develop some values in us. We develop patience, all these extra skills that we develop along with academic knowledge, academic information, they are known as graduate attributes. So the tenure between course outcome to program outcome, we also develop graduate attributes. So these graduate attributes are offered to the students with all the various, we have NSS activity and NCC activity, we have student council. So during all this, team building, leadership, emotional intelligence, all these attributes are gained by the student. Then next, moving in upward direction, we have program education objectives. Now this is basically taken from our alumni. Okay, so the students who have passed after 4 or 5 years, whether the content that we are teaching in our syllabus now, whether that content is still on par with the need of the society, or we have to upgrade it. Definitely in our board of studies, we keep calling our alumni, we take feedback from our entrepreneurs, industry experts, the subject expert, alumni, everyone. But under outcome-based education, when we want to show that it is holistic and wholesome, we have these levels. So course outcome, and program educational objectives, we take the feedback from an alumni who are in the society, where they will tell whether the content that we have delivered and we are delivering right now to the present batch of students, how far it is on par with the present need of the society. Okay, then all these three should reflect the vision and mission of our college. Every college will have a vision and mission. So when we are with the outcomes that we attain with the POs, with the COs, POs, and PEOs, whether all these outcomes reflect the vision and mission of the college. For instance, the mission of our colleges is to make men and women for others. So are we imbibing all the qualities in the student so that he faces the world, so that he can stand on his feet, and when any problem comes, not only with his academic knowledge but also with the graduate attributes that we develop in the student with regards to leadership skills or team building or emotional intelligence or discipline, whatever it is, with all these, whether he is able to face the world. So in that way, this is the general basic framework of outcome based education. So outcome-based education, I have told it very briefly. So this is only the superficial level, but we follow this OBE model at every level. That is even at teaching level, at evaluation level also. Again, when it comes to the correction from the controller of examinations office also, they follow OBE model only. Whatever I have told you now, this is only with regards to teaching and learning level. Course outcome, and program educational objectives at the end should reflect the vision and mission of the college. So we have to, so now everything is accountable. The student knows when the student, before the class begins, before the semester begins, before we start our teaching our subject, we have to tell them the course objectives. At the end, he has to see, the student will know whether whatever objectives were told, whether he has attained those objectives. So everything is very transparent here. So it is not like, when we were studying, some 15 years or 20 years back, when we were studying, it was always unidirectional. Whatever the teacher says, we were learning, and it was not measurable. But now with this OBE model, everything is measurable. Measurable and attainable means what? The student knows the objectives and he knows whether he has attained those objectives, whether he has really, when we say that the student has complete knowledge of vaccines, suppose that is one of the objective, at the end of the course, suppose the student is studying a subject called immunology, a wholesome knowledge of vaccine development, vaccine production, all this. So at the end of the course, the student now knows whether he really knows the methodology of how to develop a vaccine and the production of vaccine, the time scale, everything, whether he has a complete information on that vaccine development. So like that, whether his objective is attained. That is the basic aim of outcome-based education. So under outcome-based education, it is always very specific and measurable learning outcomes. So under this outcome-based education, now we are having, in my further slides, I'll be telling you the various teaching modules, innovative teaching modules, so that we can attain this OBE education module. Ma'am, next slide. So first one is experiential learning. So under this experiential learning, basically, it is all about, a process by learning by doing. Okay, so under this experiential learning, we are having 5 basic principles. First one is called engagement, reflection, application, collaboration, and ownership. Now, firstly, what do you mean by engagement? Engagement means, the student is actively participating in the learning experience. Whatever he is doing, he or she is doing, it could be a lab work, it could be a field work, or it can be internship. So the student is actively involved in the learning experience. And then next, coming to reflection. Reflection means he will think what he has learned. Once the session is over, once the lab session is over, or the field work is over, whatever, then he will think what he has learned, what skills he has gained, he will reflect over. Then coming to engagement, reflection, then application. Application, he will know how to use it in real life situation. Okay, whatever he has learned, how he can apply it in real life situation. Then comes to collaboration. He has to collaborate either with his seniors or with his own classmates, or it could be a third party also. So collaboratively improving over the idea, what he has learned. And ownership. At the end, he will take the ownership either by going for a patent or a copyright, whatever, based on his field, he will take the onus of it. So that experiential learning is basically a process of learning by doing, wherein the student gets involved in the work that he is doing. So basically, how do we do this? This in our classes, we have labs, practical hours. We have nowadays even the art subjects, commerce subjects are also having lab hours. So by lab or by field work, or by internships, apprenticeships. So basically, apart from this, even at the institution level, we conduct workshops, right? Virtual labs and workshops. So these all come under experiential learning. No more, we are still, of course, a basic model of teaching is chalk and talk method, but we have also improvised above that by including field work or lab work, internship, apprenticeship. Now, the present NAC document or NEP 2020 focuses on internship and apprenticeship. They have made it mandatory that in the 6 semesters, definitely the student has to undergo as many as possible internships and apprenticeship. Okay. Next slide, ma'am. Next, coming to blended learning. Now, blended learning is nothing but what we are doing. Sorry, blended learning. It is a type of pedagogy, that combines the traditional teaching, classroom instruction with online digital media. Okay, that it is a hybrid model where we use both the teacher teaches in the class, that is face-to-face teaching, and then also uses some online tools. That is actually, to motivate the students, or in order to give more flexibility to the students. Sometimes, what happens, the student gets bored. So in order to make him or her make the class even more attractive and even more involved, we try to use some PPTs, or else we play some gamification, which I'm going to tell in my further slides, wherein all these multiple choice questions, we try to give it in the form of a game, wherein when the student scores more marks, more points, then he is a winner. Some kind of adding thrill, activity to the student. So blended learning is possible by the traditional classroom teaching and using audiovisual aids, okay, online learning. So this is what we are, nowadays, most of the classrooms are all AV rooms, audiovisual rooms, wherein either we use LMS or we use, we mix offline and online. LMS tools like Moodle, that's become very common in Google Classroom, all these. Next one, ma'am. Okay. Now coming to flipped classroom. Now flipped classroom, no, this is a teaching model that it reverses the traditional instruction. It is ulta. It is just the reverse of the traditional instruction by having students view lectures and and learn new material at home. Now, for instance, tomorrow, what I'm going to teach, I will tell the student today. For instance, if I'm trying to teach them something about a metabolic pathway or about some play, okay, then I will tell the student this is the topic that you have to come prepared. The student at home uh, equips himself with all the content with regards to that material at home, and then he will come to the class the next day and he will have interactive activity. Either it could be or it could be a collaborative work with his own classmates, or it could be problem solving. Means the student has prior information, prior knowledge about the topic that I'm going to teach, so that the next day when the student comes to the class, he is not totally dry. He is aware of the concept that I'm going to teach, so there will be a healthy discussion. Okay, this is the most used uh, teaching methodology these days, teaching model these days, wherein we give a topic. Definitely, the topic should be a basic level. If you give an advanced topic and suppose the student doesn't understand the basic level, then it's very difficult for us to interact. The student becomes quite dull in the class. So the basic topics which are there, all which are at the elementary level or introductory level, we can beforehand tell them, so that the students come prepared, and the next day in the class we can have a healthy interaction. Now, what is the benefit of this flipped classroom is that students, the dumb student who is in the class, who is the least interactive in the class, he also gets an opportunity to think, to understand. He uses his mind and brain, to learn something, and tries to come and open up. So he also loses the fear of speaking. He also gains confidence in speaking confidently. So we are trying to groom his skills also, his oratory skills also. Apart from that, to what extent he can understand the concept by without a without a teacher, how far he can understand the concept, his reception, and how far he can express it in the classroom the next day. So I feel personally, I feel flipped classroom is a very good concept, wherein it is a two-way learning. Even the teacher learns sometimes when the student, because our search engines are so diversified. So when the student, suppose he's trying to get some innovative idea or a concept from any research article, then it's a two-way learning for the teacher as well as the student. This is about a flipped classroom. It is all about a healthy discussion in the classroom. Okay, next one, ma'am. The next, coming to e-learning. E-learning is, it is also these days it's called TEL, that is technology enhanced learning. Okay, so in this we use all our audiovisual tools, and basically we use it for online assessments and digital resources. We use technology to improve teaching. E-learning is nothing but using technology to improve teaching and learning, by integrating digital tools into our content delivery to make the class more interactive, more flexible, and engaging. We use a variety of digital technologies, like, we have e-learning platforms or educational apps, virtual learning, simulations. It's an environment, wherein you support students in learning at their own pace and accessing the material anytime, anywhere. Okay, so it's very handy. Some of the basic topics, and in case if we are unwell or something, wherein if you have pre-recorded sessions, even if the teacher is not in place, we are unwell. When the teacher is unwell, if she has any pre-recorded lecture, then instead of substitution, the pre-recorded lecture can be played in the classroom, wherein the student will not waste his time, and the teacher also will not waste her lecturing hours. Okay, so there is always something in place wherein the student can, that is one way of e-learning with our pre-recorded lectures. Or sometimes it is also with our AI. With the advent of AI, they learn so many things, and definitely they have to know what is right and what is wrong, because sometimes the chat GPT also doesn't give the exact information, because the way we put forth our question, the student has to be very concrete in putting up the question, because sometimes the student intends to ask one way of question and the chat GPT gives him some other answer. Especially it is seen in very minute things like for chemical reactions or names of chemicals. Sometimes it goes wrong. So the student should be quite alert enough the way he puts forth the question and receives the answers. So it has all merits and demerits. But it's one thing is that, the student can learn at his own pace. For instance, if they are unable to understand the lecture that we are giving, they can definitely learn from YouTube, which is which could be more explanatory. And we have simulation videos wherein, everything. For instance, if you have a digestive system, rather than students sitting and assuming, he can see the simulation video and try to understand. So sometimes when we see something, when we are visually into something, that stays in our mind for a longer period of time. So in that way, e-learning is more beneficial. First and foremost, the merit point is that the student can learn at his own pace, and he can access the material anytime and anywhere. These are the best features. Okay, when we give our recorded lectures also, if the student has doubt and if he's hesitating to ask us, he can always go back to our recorded lectures and keep rereading those and clarify his doubts. So that's the best part of e-learning. The next one, ma'am. Next one, competency-based education. So here in competency-based education, this is actually it is called mastery-based progression. Generally, in the global field, it is called MBP, mastery-based progression. Now here, no, this is also a type of educational model where students advance, by demonstrating mastery of specific skills and knowledge, rather than the simply sitting in the class and spending time in the classroom. In the CB model, competency-based education model, learning outcomes are fixed, all right, but the time taken to achieve that outcome is flexible. Unlike in our traditional classroom, what happens now, if you're starting the semester in June, by the month of October, we conduct exam. Okay. So the time period for him is from June to October. At any cost, he has to learn. He has to see that he has to write an exam. If he has to write the exam, he has to learn. That means his objective has to be fulfilled. He has to show his outcome by the month of October. Okay, but when it comes to this competency-based education, here, no, though the learning outcome is fixed, but the time it takes for him to learn that or to achieve that is flexible. Means a student can learn at their own pace, and it provides them with different pathways to demonstrate their competencies. You have different forms of assessment. It is purely a student-based approach, student-centered approach. So basically, in our university curriculum or college curriculums, we are unable to keep it as a CGPA. Means our regular teaching, we can keep it under non-CGPA. Means as for any course that you're teaching which has grades, we can keep it under non-CGPA. But under CGPA, it is very difficult because we have to conduct our internal exams within the stipulated time. The semester is for 4 months, means 90 days semester, means at the end of the 90th day, the instruction hours are over, and then you have to conduct exam. So by hook or crook, the student has to learn his outcome. He has to see that his objective is fulfilled. But it is a bit difficult in competency-based education because it is a bit high level, and here you don't find any direct questions. And this is competency-based education basically for advanced level, wherein the outcome is fixed, but the pace at which the student has to reach the outcome is not fixed. He can take his own time. He can take 3 months, he can take 10 days, he can take 1 year. It is not fixed. Okay, so that is competency-based education, and it is purely a student-based education. Here, no, it is the aim of this competency-based education is, it is purely skill-focused modular learning. It is not for that rote learning content. It is basically you have to apply. The basic knowledge has to be applied. So it is basically skill-focused. Okay, for subjects which are having skill-oriented subjects, we can go for competency-based education. Unlike basic subjects, wherein we under basic subjects, what we teach our students in the first semester, it is more or less, wherein the information is given to the student. First, we give the student the information, and then we try to analyze, or we try to check whether they are understanding. So competency based education may not fit into first semester. We can introduce it from second year, third semester onwards. We can go for competency based education, wherein you can analyze the student, basically whether they have upgraded their skills. Okay, next one, ma'am. Now, this is micro credentials and digital badges. So here, when we say micro credential, as the name itself speaks, it is short. It is short and very targeted certification for a specific skill. And digital batches they are online. We see on LinkedIn and all, we get those batches. Means, the employer should know whether we are certified in that particular course. That is a digital batch. So basically, we get this digital batch in order to, they are verifiable symbols, that represent the achievement of our credentials. Micro credential is a qualification, whereas digital badge is nothing but it is a proof of our qualification. So once when we finish our micro credential, we get our digital badge. So this is, when we are NPTEL courses or MOOC courses, most of the MOOC courses, we get our digital badges. So micro credential is a qualification, and digital badge is a proof of that particular qualification, right? And so they are, these micro credentials and digital batches, they're often used to showcase our proficiencies, which we overcome after the short programs that we attend. Then, then these traditional degrees. See, we are all having traditional post-graduation and doctorate degrees, but to be on par with the present trend, we have to do some diploma or some certificate programs. So those diploma and certificate programs are our micro credentials, and the proof of that micro credential is a digital badge, which we can share it on professional networks like LinkedIn, whatever network that we generally try to share, we can do that. Okay, so we share these digital batches even on resume, email signatures, even all the social media platforms. If at all you are more into social media, and all our social media profiles, and mostly in LinkedIn, you could see mostly we showcase it in our LinkedIn. So what we have to understand here is that micro credential, it is a learning program or assessment, whereas digital badge is an evidence. It is a proof that we have learned that particular course or a program. All right. So basically, this is to showcase. And nowadays, because of academic bank of credits, our students also can go for micro credentials and digital badges, because NEP 2020 is also emphasizing on ABC, Academic Bank of Credit. So most of the higher educational institutions have incorporated ABC. In schools, APAR ID is made mandatory for 10th and 12th. In the same way, even in colleges, we have made it mandatory as per the instructions of UGC. ABC is created for every student, and ABC ID is created for every student. So the student, by studying in our college or our university, can also take up a course from some other university or some other institute. At that time, at the end, when he finishes learning that particular course, he will get a digital badge, NPTEL certified, or else you have many Udemy certified. All these things, all these are nothing but our digital badges, which we can showcase on our resume or on our social media platforms like LinkedIn. Next one. Then we have collaborative and peer learning strategies. Collaborative, as the name says, these are also educational methods, wherein students try to work in groups to learn from and teach each other. Basically, it all depends upon a simple concept also can be made complicated by a teacher when she's teaching. It all depends upon the style, the confidence level of the teacher when we are teaching our students. It could be the most easy way of content delivery to the student, but sometimes we make it so complicated because we feel it very complicated in our mind, and the simplest topic is also made so complicated that the student can't receive it at times. So at that time, this collaborative and peer learning strategies come into picture, wherein the students learn from their own age group. It could be either from the seniors. Peer learning is from their own classmates. And when it comes to collaborative, it could be from seniors. It could be from people of other sections, like from computer science or from commerce. Suppose a life science student has got something on computer science, he's got a program on biopython, then definitely he can go for this program, which is offered from the computer science department. So he can learn it from those students. So collaborative learning uses group and team-based approaches. All right. Whereas peer learning specifically involves students teaching and learning from their equals. Okay. It is very easy when we learn from our own own age group, because the language, actually the frequency and language always matches. So that creates a very dynamic and interactive environment. So collaborative, most of the time, the topic which the teachers teach is so difficult for the student to understand, but the same topic is very easily understood by his own friend when he discusses, because the style at which he teaches, the friend teaches, is very receptive for the student who didn't understand. The frequency matches and they try to understand. So that's when we are unable to deliver the content to them, though we explain it 2 to 3 times, when the student is failing to receive it, it is always advisable that we call one student who has already understood the topic and ask him to help the student who hasn't understand. Because the frequency matches, the student will receive the information more quickly. So that is one way of teaching collaborative. So we have these, we make them sit in groups and try to have a positive interaction, and then summarize it. The one who didn't understand can summarize it. At the end of the discussion hour, they can summarize what they have learned from their peers. Okay, that's one way. Next one, ma'am. This is very important, actually. Inclusive learning. Under inclusive learning, we have a differential or differentiated learning. Now, this is the need of the hour, actually. When I say inclusive learning, under inclusive learning only we have differentiated learning. These are two complementary strategies, inclusive learning and differentiated learning. That is also one kind of learning, and these are very complementary to each other. They work together in order to create a very equitable educational environment. See, sometimes what happens in now, because I am from Telangana. So here, though the medium of education in the college is English, but okay, at times we also can speak in Telugu. So if the student is from Telugu background, it's very easy for him to understand. And the nearby states also, when it's from Chennai or it's from Andhra Pradesh or it's from Maharashtra also, to some extent, might be the student may understand. But most of the time, if the student is coming from Northeast, okay, the student is coming from a Northeast place, or if he's coming from Mumbai, then it's so difficult for him to understand. So what happens when we first deliver in English, and then if the student is not understanding as such in the class, we tell 2 to 3 times. Okay. After repeating the topic for the second and third time, then also when the student is not understanding, we make it a point to get down to the basic level and try to deliver the content in local language. So preferably it is Telugu. Sometimes if the student is coming from a north place, we try to deliver it in Hindi also. But then also it is so difficult. So at that time, this vernacular, when students come from vernacular background, it is so important for us to make them feel at home and deliver the content. First, the student should feel at home. That feeling, that idea of making the student feel at home, all is included in this inclusive learning. Okay, one is when the student comes from a different background. Okay, he comes from a different state where he can't understand what I'm telling. Sometimes my pronunciation also might be the student may not understand. Okay, so if he's coming from a Hindi medium, or he's coming from the local medium, what was read and taught in his school, then the English that I'm speaking might be my diction is not understood by the student. Might be the student has got very good reception, but when he doesn't understand the language, then it is so difficult for the student to interact with me. That could be one reason. Vernacular background could be one reason. One more reason, it could be that the learning resources might be a student, the economical differences in the student, one student is having all access. He has a laptop at home, he has a printer at home. Okay, he's got all access for all AI tools at home, but there's another student who is not having enough access, and he has to only depend on library. Then how do I treat this economically indifferent students in the classroom? And it also depends upon the perception, understanding, grasping level of the student. Might be there, we have in a classroom, we have a mixture of students. We have real good students who understand in the first level, even before I open my mouth. The moment I put a diagram on the board, there are students who catch the concept. Okay, there are some over enthusiastic students who come prepared the day before. Okay, next, this is the topic that she's going to teach. So they come a day before by doing flipped classroom model. They learn at home and come here and keep asking us in n number of questions. They try to check the IQ level of the teacher. So we have that variety of students also. And then we have some students who are just clueless in the class, who don't feel like concentrating, or sometimes though they concentrate, they don't try to understand. The grasping level is so low. So we have such variety. We have advanced learners, we have slow learners, we have average students. So this is the mixture of class. Then how do we include all these students? Because in a class of 50 or 60, all are equal to us. We have to be non-biased and we have to deliver our content to them. So here comes our concept of inclusive teaching or inclusive learning from the end of the students. That all we have to ensure that all students, regardless of the ability of their economic background or whatever, whether they're coming from which place, we have to deliver the information to them. So how do we do that? We have to tailor make our teaching methodology. Okay, now sometimes the student is coming from a vernacular background. He doesn't understand the English that I'm talking. Okay, so it's so difficult for him. Then definitely have to, if he's from a Hindi background, I definitely have to, after the class is over, I'll have to conduct some remedial class to him. Okay, a 40 minutes class, a remedial hour to him, wherein I can connect with him firstly. For any content delivery, the first and foremost thing that is essential for a teacher is we have to connect with our students. As long as a student doesn't get connected with the teacher, whatever we speak is all Greek and Latin to the student. If the student is not interested in you, if you don't show that connect to the student, that yes, I'm here to teach you and be confident, any kind of topic you're going to learn, I'm here. I'm making the student very comfortable. Then no, he sits with an open mind. So whatever content that I'm delivering, he tries to grasp it. It gets imbibed in him. But if I'm very indifferent to the student, I try to act smart. I try to be over disciplined. The students are here to make mistakes. So we'll have to keep forgiving them and just keep moving forward, correct them and keep moving forward. But when I'm very indifferent to them, then there is no connect. So whatever, even if I speak in his own mother tongue, it will be very difficult for the student to understand. Only if the student likes the teacher, he will try to take in the content that I'm giving. If he doesn't like me, then absolutely, even if I try to get inside his brain, he is not going to accept whatever I'm going to teach. So connect is very, very essential between the teacher and the student. That motherly instinct, that closeness, so that he tries to understand what I'm trying to tell him. That's very, very important, firstly. And then, suppose a student is coming from a vernacular background, then I definitely have to talk to him, at least with a nearby language. If not Marathi, at least in Hindi, I can teach him whatever Hindi I know. I can try to connect with him in content delivery in that Hindi language, or else I can find my one more student who is also from, let's say, who knows Marathi. If she has understood what I have told in English, I can take her help and tell, please sit together, exchange your ideas, and try to learn. So that's one way of tackling vernacular students. Or else I could give him the link of YouTube, wherein, in Hindi, that particular concept is explained, or in any other language. If at all a video is available, I can share the link. Then when it comes to what do you call if suppose they are technically not economically backward and technically not sound enough to have things at home, we also always can give a pre-recorded version of our lectures. We can share it to them, wherein that even if he doesn't have money for internet, he could always listen to the pre-recorded lecture that I'm giving it to him, or else some kind of we have departmental libraries giving in sharing a library book to him. So that's all inclusive learning. How we try to tackle the students, we have to tailor make. Sometimes the answer is quite big. We try to give extra information before, after, all information is given. But looking at the understanding the caliber of the student, we can always try to shorten that particular concept. Try to write it in easy words. So the notes are always, it is not all in one notes. For every student, all the 60 students have to read this notes, then it's very difficult. So once when we get to know that the student has got less receptivity, we can also give a tailor-made notes to the student. So our teaching, our content delivery, our notes, whatever handout that we wish to give, it can always be tailor-made according to the level of the student. And then now here comes the concept of differentiated learning. Differentiated learning here, under inclusive learning, under differentiated learning comes the physical incapability of this child. Okay, so sometimes with the child, the listening power of the child is low. Okay, he is not completely deaf, but he is partially deaf. Okay, or he has a problem of stammering. He can't speak properly, or else his vision. So these such students during admission only, as per the rules of UGC and the parent university to whichever our college belongs to, we are having some recommendations for them, some kind of concessions for them. For instance, suppose they get a certificate from the medical body. So it varies. The general thing that comes from UGC is they should have that UIDAI certificate. But sometimes the university, the parent university also accepts from the state. The state medical council also can give them a certificate. So at the most, the student should have this medical certificate. Based on this medical certificate only, we try to give concession. Means, for instance, if the student is unable to see properly, then an extra 20 minutes of time for his exam. Okay, he will be using what is that? Braille. So Braille is one software that we give him as a technical resource, or else we allow him to write the exam with the help of a scribe. And then the time period is given extra to him, even if he is having some other deficiency like listening or perception level. Also, for all these also extra time is given, or the content is reduced. For suppose for all students it is 5 units, might be for this student we can give 3 units. So this all is decided in our board of studies and academic council and governing body. This follows a protocol. Okay, or else the evaluation for such students is again a bit liberal. Okay, that what kind of moderation can be done for such students. Then the mode of conduct of exam. Now, for other students, if I'm trying to evaluate them by using group discussions or seminar, but if the student has got stammering problem, then I will definitely ask him to write an assignment and submit. So in evaluation also, the methodology of evaluating, I can, change it. But all these things have to be, we should have a policy in place, a policy for differentially abled students. So this differentially abled students also come under inclusive learning. See, long time back, when we had special schools, All right, wherein a person who has an IQ below that required IQ, then he has to learn in a special school. But now the government has removed that concept. They are slowly trying to come over it, and they say there shouldn't be any special school. All are equal. That's called inclusive learning. All, irrespective of their IQ, all try to share the same classroom, and might be the student who is not doing good, when he sits with a normal student, he will improve. But there were debates previously also that the child who is completely fit may also become unfit by sitting with the differently abled student. But the ratio is very less. It's always advisable that all sit together and we provide inclusive learning by tailor making our syllabus, tailor making our content delivery, and tailor making our assessment pattern. We have to make some modifications in our assessment pattern. But for all these things, we first should have a policy at place in the college. And this policy should always have sources from UGC and the parent university. Then it is very easy for us to deliver it. Okay. The basic principle or the goal is to provide equal opportunity and access to education for everyone, including students with disability or the students who are coming from various cultural and linguistic backgrounds or from different socio-economic status. All are given equal opportunity. We believe that all children can learn and they have the right to high quality education. Okay, so differentiated learning is a part of inclusive learning. Inclusive learning is a bigger umbrella under which you have differentiated learning, where the teacher should be very proactively responsible to a student's readiness, his learning profile, or his interest. We have to spend more time. The teacher has to be very proactive in learning about the student so that we can create a content as per his need. We should provide each student with the best possible opportunity to learn, and so that he succeeds by adapting that learning experience. We have to provide learning experience as per their need, individual need. As per their individual need, we have to provide learning experience. That is the main concept here. It's all about content. Content means in differentiated learning, the methods is content, process, product. These three are the methods of teaching. So when it comes to content, what are we teaching? Okay, process, how are we teaching? And product, how the students demonstrate learning. Means, are they showing the outcome? Based on the objective, are they showing response? Are they responding to the content that I am teaching and how I am teaching? Are they showing response? So this differentiated learning in this method, these are the methods like content, process, and product. We are assessed based on. So in our policy, all this is written: content, process, and product, and we are assessed based on it. Okay. Basically, we try to teach them through videos, through audiobooks, through hands-on objectives. It may take time. We give enough time for the students to work on their own pace, and we encourage them to ask some questions. And there's always trial and error. It's not hard and fixed rule that today, if I'm using this methodology, the student will definitely give answer. No, today I will use video and see whether he is able to understand from the video lecture. If he's unable to understand, then I will use an audio lecture in his own mother tongue and see whether he is able to understand through the audio lecture. So always it is trial and error in our college. So I always have this problem of doing trial and error, because once a person is behaving in this way, I can't say that the next time the other differentially able student also behaves in the same way. It is the perception level, the understanding level of each and every student is so unique that the teacher has to have a lot of patience and always go around with trial and error. Okay. We also sometimes use scaffolding. That's very, very important. We provide supports like some templates or or sentence starters, means we help them with sentence starters or some key vocabulary words. We give them these so that, these are the new things that we are learning. Scaffolding is a new concept. It existed long back, but right now we are putting it into practice with this inclusive learning. We give them those key terms wherein the student develops and tries to, reach his objective. Okay. Mm, Under actually inclusive learning on its own is a very vast topic that I can really speak around. At the end, what I could say that, it is all about how you try to deliver the content to the student. The process is very important here, whether I engage the student in inquiry or investigation, or in problem solving or evidence based thinking. There are different methodologies. We try to move the student from passive learning to active knowledge creation. Even a student with differentially abled background, also, he shouldn't feel helpless and he shouldn't be passive. We have to tailor make a teaching style wherein even he starts to try to respond to what we are teaching. So that active knowledge creation, we call it as AKC has to be developed in the student. That is our output. That is the outcome. The outcome level is AKC, active knowledge creation. Okay. That's about inclusive learning. Next one, ma'am. Okay. Now here it is about research. How the student is able to learn through research. In which way he is able to learn through research. Now, generally, we teach basic level. Okay. When we are teaching basic level, in the second year, it is applicative level. So we ask research questions to frame classroom learning. Ask certain research questions on the content which they have already learned. Okay. And sometimes you can engage students in kind of inquiry, make teams, inquiry team, investigation team, problem solving team. Give a concept, give a topic, and break the class into different groups. Like one group is the inquiry group, other group is for investigation, and the last group is for problem solving. So in this way, also through research, we can introduce research as one of the methodology of teaching. And definitely in all our curriculums, we have project research methodology where we have mini research projects. Then we also teach about case studies where we have evidence-based thinking. Then we have reflective learning. All these, it tries to improve the reasoning skills, thinking skills, creative skills. Research-based teaching, definitely that the student has to assume and reflect and then come to a conclusion. So basically, this is a methodology which we can start in our 5th or 6th semester, unlike in the 1st or 2nd semester. Next one, ma'am. Gamification. So this is, students are enjoying this gamification, and our NAC document also keeps on asking evidences on gamification all the time. So gamification in education, yeah. It is a very modern pedagogical approach, to enhance student engagement. Students are engaged in the class. It refers to the use of game elements in the class, like, gamification means you have quizzes, you have specialized what do you call programs like quizzes, Kahoot, and Class Point, Classcraft, Google Classroom batches. Then you have Mentimeter. All these, these elements, they make learning more interactive, enjoyable, and very much goal-oriented. Here, it does not mean playing games. Actually, it makes learning feel like a game. Whatever we have learned, when questions are asked on that, and if you answer the right question, if you give the answer to that question with the right answer, then you get a point. So you feel it like a game. You have challenges, you have rewards, you have progress tracking, batches are given to you. points, levels, batches, all these are so exciting. So this makes learning more interactive. Of course, it is not possible for every concept that we teach, but for certain concepts, so definitely the basic ones which we use these days is, how we take poll. In the same way, like we play games through Kahoot, Kahoot. Kahoot is very, very commonly used in the classroom. Mentimeter, Kahoot, Socrative, Edpuzzle. Edpuzzle is used for school children. Then we use Brainly also. Brainly is also basically used, it's actually a peer-based learning gamification tool. So gamification is also, generally it is to keep the class more interactive and to see that the student doesn't get demotivated. We are engaging the student so that he reaches our outcome. So all this, whatever we are doing all this under outcome based education so that the student attains his objective. He has to reach his objective. He has to gain his outcome. So the basic concept of OBE is that whatever the student is learning, that should be measurable. How much he knows, to what extent he has understood, he can measure it. Unlike the education that we followed long time back, we don't know to what extent. It was not quantifiable. Now with OBE, everything is quantifiable. So all the tools which I have told you till now, all these tools are for aiding to help us in OBE. Apart from this, also we have several. Now, next one. Multidisciplinary approach in teaching and learning. So this is very, very important actually, and this is also more focused by NAC and NEP. No longer, when we only talk about biotechnology without AI, no, none of our fields are existing actually, because AI is so widespread now. So I definitely have to combine or interact or incorporate some computer science subject into life sciences. So we already have bioinformatics like that. And now we are also having BioPython, wherein our students try to understand, instead of slogging in the wet lab, instead of doing research for years together, now we do everything on system. Okay, and so we can easily understand the drug targeting or the protein scaffolding. All these things are very visually. We get see long time back. No, if I have to know whether the drug is suitable to this particular organism, I have to give that particular drug either to a rat or to a monkey. Depending upon the level of living beings, I have to do research on them and wait until it might be in between. If the animal dies, then I'll again have to start it with square one. From zero, I am going to start it. But now it is not like that. With the help of bioinformatics, we have got so many docking studies that I can see it through my docking studies. I can see to what level the ADME, that is the level of absorption of my drug to that particular organism. I can easily visually see it. So when I used to spend years to months together, now I can just do it off in minutes of time. So in that way, multidisciplinary education is so helpful. So it's not always we linking only with computer science, but also with it could be life science, even linking with arts and humanities, life science linking with commerce, or commerce linking with AI, all these things. So multidisciplinary, importance of multidisciplinary is, you're trying to improve the creativity and reasoning skill in the student. The student becomes very open, very creative when you introduce multidisciplinary approach, because every other faculty has got its own taste. So when we try to go for interdisciplinary or multidisciplinary, we've got many more applications rather than to the basic science. When we are fixed to the basic science, the level of applications are few, but when we go to multidisciplinary, then the application level is higher. And Right now, even if you see projects also what we write, we are all writing multidisciplinary. All the subjects also, it's been made mandatory that the discipline specific electives are to be introduced in the fifth and sixth semester. So under CBCS, we have introduced discipline specific elective, generic elective. All these are nothing but multidisciplinary, wherein our student also knows about the other field and how he can interact with that field and try to bring out the product. It could either be an innovative product or a traditional product, but it makes his work easy. And sometimes, if he's not doing good in his own field, at least he will try to do good in the field that he has learned. It all depends upon his interest. So, multidisciplinary approach is also the most demanding kind of approach right now under innovative pedagogical methods. Next one, ma'am. Right, that's it. That's it from my end. I'm open to questions. If anyone wants to ask me something, you can go ahead.